The crypto and stock markets are riding high this morning, but is it going to last? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Kevin doesn't think so either. We're going to dive into that in just a moment. Please, before we get going, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing we say is financial advice. We're just two guys who love talking about the markets. Do your own research for any sort of buying and selling. Know your risk tolerance, your time horizon, yada, 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 all those things. Kevin, we are pumping hard today. You got, Solana is up 16%. It's up, 100% from where it was at 8:30 a few weeks ago. We're riding high, but how long is this really going to last?
Until Jerome Powell probably comes out and speaks or says something, because this feels like no different from every other month where, the market reacts or retail reacts to something that seems negative, but they think of it as positive. Maybe that's the unemployment data that we saw, or the wage earnings just slowing down. But then when he speaks, obviously the markets seem to tank. So it'll be interesting. I don't think it's going to be a long-lived event. We're still really early in Q1, and there's still a few months ahead of us. And definitely, based off what the information we got last week, and then we got information coming out, I think, next week or later this week, this could be.
So we got actually Jerome Powell talking tomorrow in Sweden about whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure how much he's going to dive into the current state of our market, but just kind of recap. We were last on Thursday. On Friday, we got unemployment data. Unemployment was expected to be at 3.7%. It came in at 3.5%, but wage growth was down, so that's what got the markets excited. This morning, we're going up pretty strong across everything at the moment. There's the New York Fed put out their 1-year inflation expectations. That was under, the previous time that they did it. So I think that caused a little bit of excitement. I don't know if it's enough to see what we're doing now. Later this week, we got, Thursday is the big day. We got all sorts of inflation data coming out. And, it still seems likely that we'll get a 25 basis point hike, but that could change on Thursday very quickly if inflation is hot. And that could totally happen. You and I were talking before the show. The state of this market right now, it doesn't feel good. This pump that we're seeing, yeah, it's nice to see the numbers green for once, but this kind of feels like the last rally before we finally hit capitulation. There's that classic market cycles chart where you think that you've hit bottom, and then you get the rug pulled out from under you, and that's when everyone is like, I thought we're never going up again. I thought we had seen the bottom. What's going on here? I think that we could be seeing that play out in the very near future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you said 25 basis points is probably likely. I might be on the further end thinking it's going to be 50. I genuinely think that a lot of the data that we're going to get back from January is going to be, from December, is not going to be necessarily bullish. It might be even cause the Fed to be more hawkish. And, we don't have the rate hikes until the 31st of January, correct? It's later in the month.
Oh, February 1st. So I'm looking at CME Group. They currently have it right now at 80% chance of 25 basis points. Just last week, after we got some jobs data, it was a 60% chance of 25 basis points, 40% of 50. So, it's moving with some of this data coming out. But like I said, if we get a hot inflation if inflation comes in under the expectation, I think expectation is 7.1%. If it comes in at a very nice 6.9%, we're pretty much locked into 25 basis points. Nice. But it took you a second there. But if it comes in hot, we're 50 is happening, and maybe even 75 is on the table.
Ooh, yeah, that would definitely be fun for a lot of people who are using leverage trade, are leveraged right now or over leveraged. We saw a ton of liquidations. We're completely in liquidation season right now for the crypto market. But yeah, I think that there's a good chance that the worst is still to come. And right now, this is a euphoria stage right before it's allowing a lot of people to sell and get out of the market who were trapped earlier on, probably 15, 16K. They're just giving people the perfect opportunity to get out of the market, it seems. With 44% for Cardano over the past week. Some of the stuff is just green candles all the way up. And you know what happens when you get green candles, right? Big red dildos follow.
Yeah, if you look at we'll look at Solana here in a bit, but if you look at that, it is from its bottom, it's up over 100%. Like it touched 798. Now it's up. It was at $17 earlier. It's pulled back a little bit, but yeah, it's the euphoria is here right now.
Bonk and DXY, the only reason why Solana is still pumping, but and obviously liquidation, but yeah, we'll look into it when we get into the charts. Just wild to me.
Anything else on the macro level you want to touch on before we get into the charts?
No, I mean, obviously I want to get into some of the liquidations, the important stuff to look at, how bad it was right after the weekly close. But no, I think we can jump right into that.
Well, let's talk about those liquidations and like kind of explain it, to me and people watching who may not know like how that all works, the importance of that, because I think that's, the more we know, the better.
Definitely. So with liquidations, that's usually people who are using leverage trades. You see when you go onto any exchange, there'll be like pairs, there'll be like futures or USDT pairs with like BTC. People will use leverage, meaning that their gains will be significantly higher if they bet in the correct direction of the market. But if they lose, I mean, they could be completely wiped out. And sometimes if the liquidation level gets hit, actually every time the liquidation level gets hit, you lose pretty much everything. So a lot of people do liquidity hunting, and it's usually whales and people who have huge wallets. They're able to push the price where they want to. And, support and resistance levels in liquidation season really don't matter. The whole point is they want to reach those levels so that they can completely wipe out anyone who is either going short on the market too early or, once the pump happens, in which I expect to happen next is the part of this all, is people are going to go long extremely late. And that just makes it so easy for them to push the price down, to sell everything. And they're just collecting all that money, all that liquidity that people were using to bet against the market or bet that the market was going to go up. So it's really just a game of, I mean, it's almost like betting. It's not something that's for me. I personally don't like it. I know a lot of people who like to use leverage, but they use low leverage. But there's definitely people in the space who are extremely over leveraged, and we saw that last night. I'm going to pull up, let's see, CoinGlass liquidations.
I mean, we've seen at this point, I don't know. We've seen this play out so many times with people just getting wrecked trading with leverage. I mean, look at 3 Arrows Capital, for Christ's sake. Like, those guys were, I mean, even the smart, some of the smartest people out there, or what people think are the smartest people out there, get caught up trading with leverage and absolutely destroyed.
Definitely. I'm going to pull up this. This is liquidation levels as of currently right now. We can see the past 24 hours, there's been $250,000 wiped out of the market. The past hour, it's only about 4 million. It's going up.
No, quarter. I think you meant to say $250 million.
Yeah, $250 million. My bad. Yeah, I saw the my bad. That's $250 million there. Granted, that's only about 33% of what we saw when the FTX collapse happened. So clearly, people are out there making money, and they're doing a pretty good job at it because look how much money we're seeing. Ethereum, once again, in the past 24 hours, about $70 million that's been liquidated in the space. Bitcoin, 34 million. Cardano, 26 million. And Gala was insane. The liquidation levels and the gains that we saw. For what reason? Absolutely, I can't tell you. There's no fundamental reason why a lot of these things are pumping other than, sure, they are extremely oversold. We're in a bear market. I think it's a rally. But if there's anything that tells me why these coins are pumping up in value without tons of demand, it's got to be the DXY. And we'll go into that when we look at the DXY. But I just wanted to show everyone that there's tons of liquidations happening right now. We are completely in liquidation season. Just last night, after the weekly close, we saw some wild levels, like 48 million in the first 24 hours of liquidations last night for Ethereum and 15.6 million in the 4 hours following the weekly close. For Bitcoin, it was...
We got a quick question here from JPV.
Yeah, let's see.
Right here. Pro Sol or get the fuck out, Sol?
Well, I don't have Sol as part of my portfolio. So that should... Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, not financial advice here, obviously. It's been interesting to see Sol and the whole Bonk token and all that shit. I also do not hold Sol. I've kept it pretty tight. We have no Sol on this show, so maybe we're just cowards. I don't know. But that's our take, JPV.
Yeah, it's I mean, obviously we saw Solana, like you said, go up 100% from where it was. And it's still counting, like right here in the past 24 hours, about $15 million in liquidation. So people are obviously buying it. But yeah, so we saw tons of liquidations. Last night was the wild one for Cardano, though. You guys know how much I love Cardano. In the first 24 hours of liquidations last night at like 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, we had $26 million in the space, and 24.4 million came in the 4 hours after the weekly close. And that's literally a 4-hour window. There was $24 million of Cardano liquidations. And that coin was at 23.96 cents maybe a few days ago. And it shot all the way up to like 34, almost 35 cents. So there was massive liquidations. People were shorting way too early. And because of that, we saw all this liquidity build up much higher, price pushed up there. And ultimately, people who are going to go long on that coin now are going to get wrecked. I think it's going to probably drop back down to liquidate all late longs. Not financial advice. It's just I'm following what the money's doing. And that's what it seems like it's doing pretty well right now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get into the DXY and then move through the the other crypto charts.
Absolutely. Let's pull up the DXY. So the DXY plays a huge role into why we are seeing a lot of these coins pumping. And again, this might be fundamentals as well. A lot of people are feeling extremely bullish in the market. I don't know why, but let's look at this. This is the daily. We see this massive red candle. So we lost the support that we had here at 103.69. Went right through it. We see the daily stochastic RSI has room to go to the downside. We do have this 102.038 level here that I was marking as definite like support that we would have. I mean, we could trade in this channel, but I think that has to hold if we wanted to, pump again. Obviously, maybe down here at 101.26, but this level right here seems like pretty good support to me. We bounced off, we came above it. Let's go to the 4-hourly, and we can just see how bad the DXY has been taking this. This is Friday. So since Friday into this morning, it's just dropping. It's dropping like crazy. I mean, we can see we're completely undervalued on the 4-hourly. But again, the thing with the DXY and risk assets, as the DXY comes down, risk assets go up. It's just the dollar isn't as strong as risk assets at the moment. You obviously need more USD to buy these risk assets. That's why the price is going up, as opposed to when risk assets come down, you don't need as much USD to purchase more. So your purchasing power is pretty much just limited right now. It's so nasty just to see this drop down. And the only thing I could think of is just we saw the jobs data, the wage earnings are slowing down. Again, I don't know if that makes any sense for why the dollar is shooting down as much as it is. I think we need to possibly retest this 102.38 level and hold that. Hopefully on the daily just comes down, because once we get the daily down here and it's oversold and everything else on lower time frames are oversold, I'm just going back to that weekly. I mean, this thing's gonna rip. I can feel it. I can see it coming down. This is a bull flag in my opinion, coming down, ready to just shoot up. Maybe even retest this. I don't know. It depends on how violent the market wants to be, how hawkish Powell and the Fed are going to be with some of these rates. It's going to be really interesting. I think that I wouldn't count out the dollar yet. I still think it's probably, for me personally, it's my strongest asset at the moment. Just, keep stacking it. But it's just, the dollar is just, I can't tell you exactly why it keeps going down. It's ready to pump. I think just news and like FOMO and FUD are just destroying the strength of the dollar against risk assets right now.
Yeah, I think there's just a ton of people who really want to be back in a bull market. And I think the hopium is just at too high of levels, and it's just a matter of time until, that comes crashing down. Let's move into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's seeing, a nice little rebound back over 17K. If we look at the charts, what are the charts telling us as far as the stochastic RSI and everything?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we've been overbought on the stochastic RSI for the daily for some time now. It's been, let's see, probably since like Thursday. Obviously, it's going to come down, but it could stay up here for a while. We saw it stay up pretty high when we were consolidating between, 16.4 and 17.8 when we had that huge pump before we broke to the downside. Again, is it that crazy of a pump? No, we're still within this range. I remember a few shows ago we talked about 17.2, between 17.2 and 17.5 being a potential retest before we get rejection. I kind of walked back on that on Twitter. I said that 17 might be the actual level, but because I wasn't seeing enough volume, there wasn't enough people buying or not like bullish momentum to push the price to the upside. Clearly, the DXY dropping just pushed it to that level, so there was tons of liquidity in this area. I'm not surprised. Probably could go a little bit higher if we look at some of the lower time frames. We're getting pretty high there, but I think it's just liquidity hunting at this point. They're just trying to liquidate everyone's positions. We've seen Bitcoin was number 3, I believe, or number 2 at 35 million in the past 24 hours. So when I look at this, nothing really has changed. The macro targets are still the same for me. We're still below the 17.5, which is on the monthly key resistance for us. Obviously, 19.6 is the key resistance, but staying under 17.5 gives us some room and some peace of mind that we're probably going to retest that 14K level, 13,966 or something like that, right down here at this orange line. But yeah, when I look at this, I'm not feeling bullish. I don't like pumps that happen like this. And again, has Bitcoin really moved that much? It hasn't. It's gone from 16.8 to 17.35, 17.4. So it's not that massive of a pump. It seems like it. A lot of the altcoins are making it seem like we're pumping more than we actually are. But that also just tells me that there's tons of volatility in the space right now. And usually when we see stuff without a lot of support being tested, or that slow grind, usually breaks to the downside. There's not a lot of strength there.
Do you think, and it could change obviously, but once things have bottomed and we do start to recover, do you feel like we're going to see a phase where Bitcoin, because right now all the alts are outperforming Bitcoin on a percentage basis, like significantly. Do you think we'll see a point where Bitcoin is leading the way, and it's kind of pulling, ETH and then other smaller tokens with it?
Definitely, yeah. Usually when the bear market ends and we finish the accumulation phase, Bitcoin always leads the way. Bitcoin is always the one that kind of signifies that we're out of the bear market and we're moving into the bull market. Obviously, we saw it when Bitcoin tore all the way up to 50K back in like February of 2020. Yeah, it's like right around there into March. Like that's just usually how it plays out. Obviously, Bitcoin still has some dominance over most of the market. It's weakening as more coins come into the space, but yeah, I definitely think that Bitcoin's going to be an indicator of what's coming next in the bull market. Again, we have to finish. We have to bottom out. We have to have an accumulation phase. Because if that was an accumulation phase, that period right here, and then we just see those massive green candles like on Solana, that'd be probably one of the shortest accumulation phases we could possibly see. These things take time. It needs to grind it out. And I think that Bitcoin's going to obviously drag and gain dominance as we start into the bull market. But again, just got to finish this bear market. Still plenty of time left in it.
Okay. And then real quick, can you pull up? I know we keep keeping our eye on the potential death cross. How is that looking right now?
I've been keeping my eye on this thing all the time. It's the weekly. Let's look it up. It's coming. It's coming. There it is. Look, she's getting closer too, JWeb.
Oof.
What is this? The difference between that? Obviously, this means nothing with this percentage I'm doing, but it's like 5% from touching each other. So this thing is definitely going to happen. It's a matter of time. The next massive capitulation event, it could be the capitulation event. But we really don't know. Obviously, we can look at the charts. We know something's coming. We know that when that usually crosses and they touch, signifies that there's going to be some form of a sell-off. But even looking at the weekly volume, like obviously the price is going up a little bit, right? We see that. We see the stochastic RSI is going up. But let's look at the volume right here. We're going down here. So that's bearish divergence. I just saw that right now. Plus, we have this weekly, the 50 and the 200 EMA death cross on its way. Once the stochastic RSI gets pretty overbought on the weekly, that could be a week, 2 weeks from now. All these things could just line up for just a massive leg down. And then, a week, 2 weeks from now, we're in February, and we have February is a short month, and then we have March, which is the end of Q1. That kind of lines up with, all the bearishness that we've been talking about, Q1 being pretty bloody. So in the charts, there's definitely some things that look like we could see some negative price action, but it's a matter of time. And again, there's a lot of noise right now in the shorter time frames, lower time frames. We just got to kind of just stick to the macro, trust what we're seeing, and just don't freak out. We're going to see these pumps go up, and it's just as fast as they're going to come down.
Yeah, you were telling me before we started that you've gotten texts and calls from friends asking about crypto now that the price is starting to pump back up a little bit. So maybe that's our indicator that, okay, if more people are starting to pay attention again, and we don't think we've hit bottom yet, this could be, this could be the time.
I look at a lot of charts and I look at a lot of bottoms, and when I look at the charts, I don't see a bottom. We got a lot further down to go.
Okay, let's head. Speaking of charts and bottoms, let's move over to ETH next. Another one that's had a nice run up to 1335. Pretty strong right there. But are we still gonna? You're still targeting under 1,000, right?
Oh yeah, I'm targeting. Like I said, my level was 636. I think between $600 and $700 is a pretty decent accumulation range for Ethereum. Not financial advice. That's just personally what I'm doing. But when I look at this, what did we do? We came right up and we tested the 1338 yellow line right here. And this is the one that was key monthly support for us. Remember, we've been trading. We hit it. We wicked off. It came down. Now we came down from here. And we wicked all the way up in a matter of what, 1 day. That's some bull if you ask me. But regardless, it's good to see that we tested it, because once we do find rejection, it's probably going to be a nasty wick down. And that tells us, okay, this yellow line is now definitely resistance. We're going to have to go to the next level of support, which is 1083. I definitely think that's coming. I'm literally no fear that that's not the next target on the macro for Ethereum. It could even go as bad as going down to 877, which would be a retest of the June low. We haven't put in a new low for Ethereum since June. So that'll be really interesting to see. I don't think that this 1338 is going to be a level of support. Like, we're not going to close above it on the monthly. It's my personal opinion. I think we're going to get rejected from this pretty harshly. When it all depends on when the liquidations are done, when people are opening up long positions, thinking that we're going up to 14, 15K. But for right now, I think that we're holding resistance pretty well at 1334. As we saw, we wicked right above it, and we're just trading at it right now. Let's look at the daily stochastic RSI really quick on Ethereum. Yeah, we've been nice and overbought for a few days now, since Tuesday of last week. We're trading in. We could even pull this down and say we're trading in a bear flag right here. It's going to break to the downside. We're testing the upper limits of it. I got the Bollinger Bands on right now. Bollinger Bands look a little bit tight right here. It looks like we're seeing some expansion. There's compression here, and we're starting to break out of that. Rejection here and straight down will be a really good break. We see something like where they come out and explode, which just pretty much means that the price expansion, that the pressure between the previous price action and the price action that we're moving into is finally relieved, and we're moving in a direction before we see some tightening of the bands again.
Okay. Anything else on the ETH side of things before we move into some of our altcoins?
Let me just check the weekly real quick. I want to see if there's a death cross potentially coming on ETH as well. Sorry to ruin all the fun, everybody. Let's see. All right, that's the yellow, orange. Orange is 50. Yeah, I guess this blue line that I have right here, I guess that technically could be the death cross, but I think Ethereum would need to go a lot further down for it to touch, because let's see what's percentage.
Does it even matter if it has its own? Like, if Bitcoin hits a death cross and there's a sell-off there, I have to think it's going to drag a lot of other, drag everything else down with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just, if everyone has their own death cross, obviously it's going to bring the price down a lot more, because people are going to be afraid of the asset itself. You won't get these bulls that are trying to buy the dip as it's dipping 50% every time they buy. But for right now, it looks like that there is a death cross coming on Ethereum. It's not as strong as the one in Bitcoin. It probably won't be as dominant. But yeah, Bitcoin is the one to watch. Ethereum, we're just playing a game of support and resistance right now.
Okay. Did you want to? I know you talked about Cardano with the liquidations. You want to get into that chart next?
Yeah, I don't have much to go over Cardano. It's. I just want to show you guys how crazy this is. This chart is. So come down here. Granted, when we look at the weekly, obviously there's some noise here with my stuff. Let me just turn off the Bollinger Bands, and then let's get this open. This is on the weekly. I had to zoom in a ton. Is this a crazy amount from down here to where it went to? 47%. So yeah, obviously it's a crazy amount, but if we look at the grand scheme of things, it's not that great of a pump. Like, I think we had a better pump back here. Obviously we went up 20 cents. This went up 10 cents. Comparative to the current price, obviously it's a bigger percentage, I think, now. But we shot up here, we came up, we've liquidated pretty much everyone who was shorting, probably shorting right here, opening up shorts at 28 cents. And then same at like 32, 33 cents right around here. So we just pushed right through those. Now I think we're going to have a lot of people who are expecting us to go long on it. And if we look at the weekly, look how high the stochastic RSI moved from the previous week to today. We were at, what's this, 27,963. And then today we're at 60 and 29. So the price, the momentum on the stochastic RSI shot up a ton on the weekly. If we look at the daily, completely overbought. I mean, this is just an insane candle. Like, this is just gross. And I don't mean that in a good way at all. This is just like, who believes this BS right now? Like, look at these candles. Look at this volume that just came in. 100% liquidation. I'm sorry. When I see stuff like this and I see people going extremely bullish on this, I just like, what are you doing, man? Again, not financial advice, but I do think there is probably potential that we do push a little bit higher. The 4 hour looks like it's coming down. I'll probably push up a little bit higher above this again, just to liquidate anyone else who was opening up shorts here or close them. But nothing crazy about Cardano. I still think that we're going to close below this 33 cents. I think we might even come down as fast as we came up below this 28 cents. My main target remains 23 cents. And then obviously I have targets down here, but we have to hit this 23 cents and then lose that in order for us to hit these. So it's just a matter of patience and just not getting too caught up in all the noise that's happening on the shorter time frames. As I showed you on the weekly and the daily, things are starting to look like they're getting pretty overbought. I think we might see a reversal at some point in the coming weeks, maybe after the FOMC meeting and the rate hike. It really depends. Q1 this year, I do not believe there's going to be much bullish sentiment once the actual, not capitulation, but maybe capitulation, actual ball starts rolling in. We see how nasty the macro environment really is.
Yeah, I mean, this is still, I mean, technically like kind of a Santa rally. Like,
yeah, it's not easy year.
Yeah, we're starting off the year strong, but we got, FOMC soon. I think Powell is going to, he's going to have to come out very hawkish. Like, I don't think he can, if we continue to pump like this, not that we're going to have this good of a day every day, but if, the markets are still hot, and even with inflation data coming out that, if it's over expectation, it's just, I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
I'm not really sure what else to say.
It's just, man. And again, it's the unemployment thing is the one that scares me the most. Like, I look at these charts and obviously, I do see some bullish positivity on the macro when we look at some of the Bitcoin charts, but things have to get worse before they get better. But when I look at that unemployment number coming down and people are like celebrating because what, the wages are slowing down. Yeah, the unemployment still has to go up if they want inflation to come down. Jobs that exist right now are not going to exist 6 months from now. Like, this is probably going to be one of the biggest liquidity crunch for a lot of people who, maybe aren't investors, but they're just like have jobs. I feel like there's going to be tons of people who are competing for jobs, whether they're qualified or unqualified. Like, I don't see a world where we printed the most amount of money in the history of the United States within 1 year, where there's not some type of drastic, cool down or something that causes, the markets to halt, because the amount of money that we printed from the stimulus checks in 2020 is, you can't not expect that to hurt the economy, hurt everyday consumers, and no fault of their own, but it's just insane. Like,
yeah,
there has to be some type of repercussions for what happened that year.
Yeah, 100%. Do we want to briefly touch on anything else? No, I think all the other charts are. Is there much to say with like Matic or Link or anything? No,
Matic, obviously, we talked about that 84-cent level. I think it's up at like 86 cents, or that's where it went to last night. Again, that's liquidation. This 84% level was resistance, and clearly anyone who was shorting, below that got liquidated as the price went up. So you're going to see these wicks above and below the support and resistance levels. This is 100% just liquidity hunting. I expect the liquidations to increase, or just if you want to watch that, go on CoinGlass and just watch liquidations on the 4 hourly, the 12 hourly, and the 24 hourly. You can see it for pretty much any coin and on the exchange. And, that just gives you some confidence to believe in that, right now people are just trying to make money any which way they can. And that seems to be the play right now. I just see money chasing other people out of the space.
Yeah. Matic did just have some news with, they're working with MasterCard. So, like, I continue on the short term. I don't really care. like it's going to do, the price is going to do what it's going to do, but long term, I remain very, very bullish on Matic. I think there's so much that they're doing to integrate Polygon into, as more and more businesses enter the crypto space, Matic seems to be one of the go-to, L2s that they're going to be using. So I'm going to keep stacking Polygon when it dips, and we'll see if it hits that 30-cent level, but still very bullish long term.
Yeah, definitely. It's again, it's kind of, I sent out a tweet last night too, just talking about all this stuff, because this is a lot of noise. This could really scare some people into FOMOing in. Clearly, like all my friends are messaging me, so clearly I know it's not the bottom yet, but I think that you have to have ice in your veins right now. You have to have those balls of steel, because everyone's going to try and trick. The market's going to do everything it can to get you to buy in and be exit liquidity, and that's just going to hurt your purchasing power down the road, because I still see the macro going way further down. And again, I'd rather take the risk of being risk off for what, $500 per coin, $500 profit per coin on Bitcoin, and just have all that cash ready to buy it when it's what, I'm saying like 11.5, 12.5K is where I think the liquidation level of Bitcoin probably will go to in the bear market. So from current levels, that's like $6,000 off. So I'd rather buy it when it's $6,000 off than put it in right now and make what, $500 per coin. So it's just a matter of thinking of stuff like that, and just, having your conviction, and don't FOMO into anything. There's obviously going to be tons of opportunities, and we just haven't even seen the maximum opportunity of this bear market yet.
Yeah, 100%. Balls of steel. Love it. Really, I think we're going to end it on that note today. So thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back on Thursday. It'll be after the inflation data comes out. So very, very excited to see how the market reacts on Thursday. I think it could be it's either going to be a lot of red or a lot of green. So definitely. It's going to be an interesting day. So I can't wait to talk about it. Please, once again, like today's show, subscribe to our channel. If you know people who are getting into crypto or want to learn more about it, we'd love if you sent them our way. I'll try to help as many people as we can understand this crazy market that we're in. So for Kevin, for the team at FLOLiO, I am Jeremy. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. We will see you on Thursday.
Stay strong.